tonight, the Biden campaign pushing back on a Politico report that Biden has signaled that he would serve only one term if he were elected in 2020. Quoting an advisor is saying if Biden is elected, he's going to be 82 years old in 4 years and he won't be running for re-election. Here's the former vice president's response when asked about that today by our own Peter Ducey.
About a one-term.
No, we never have. I don't have any plans on one term.
Thank you.
I'm not even there yet.
All right. Marc Thiessen, host of the American Enterprise Institute's What the Hell's Going On podcast and Fox News contributor, and Austin Goolsbee, former chief economist under President Obama, and he knows what the hell's going on. So, Austin, let me start with you. Do you think, this appeared to have come from someone in the campaign, that it's something that they discussed, that if he were elected, he might only serve for one term?
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. A lot of times there are trial balloons that are floated, and a lot of times there's just extraneous information that gets floated as if it's a fact and it's not a fact. So who knows? I think the downside of promising a one-term thing is, in a way, it kind of makes you a lame duck before you even get there. So I'd be surprised if they come out that that's their position through the campaign.
Yeah, apparently, Chris Coons said today on Fox News, and he's a supporter and a friend of Joe Biden, he said that Joe Biden made it clear to me that he is ready and able and willing to serve 2 terms if necessary, which is an interesting way of putting that, Mark.
Exactly. Look, I mean, the last president who was elected promising to serve only one term was 175 years ago, James K. Polk, and he died 3 months after leaving office. So it's not a very effective strategy. So it's not surprising that Biden is pushing back on it. But what is clear from this story is that his advisors are talking about it. They're not just talking to each other; they're talking to Politico. This was a prominent senior advisor to Biden's campaign who said this, and so it's pretty devastating because what it's saying is that even his own advisors don't think that he can serve 8 years in the Oval Office. And if those people who see him up close feel that way about him, and the American people are going to see it eventually.
Well, I mean, it's one way of looking at it.
It was not named. There was no. We don't know who this advisor was. We don't know that they're senior. We don't know anything about them.
Let's put up this WBUR poll that looks at New Hampshire. You've got Pete Buttigieg at 18%. Biden, right there at 17% in New Hampshire. It just, if we look at it kind of from the other side, Austin, if he presents himself as, this sort of former vice president, 8 years in the White House, if you don't like President Trump, just give me 4 years. I'm going to provide a transition period for the country here, and then we're going to have some fantastic young Democrat, take over when I'm done. I mean, I could imagine, a scenario where it's kind of presented like that.
I mean, if it were, it would put a lot of emphasis on who was his pick as vice president. Right. That's for sure.
Exactly.
I think, look, Joe Biden's greatest strength is that he's well known by the American people and well loved and has lots of experience. And his biggest downside is a lot of people look and say, well, he seems old. And that problem faces President Trump as well. He's only a year or 2 younger than Joe Biden is.
5 years apart, aren't they? Anyway,
is it 5? I mean, they're both mid-70s and above.
70s.
Trump
and,
would be the oldest.
Joe Biden is
would
late
be
70s.
the oldest presidents that we've ever had, I believe. And so the thing is,
whenever anyone's 5 years younger than me, I always say, we're pretty much the same age anyway.
so
when
look,
it works that way.
The thing is, we're going to have Joe Biden has to confront this issue.
Yep.
He has to convince people that he has the energy to do it. And I think he's much more likely to go down the path of, let me show you that I'm energetic and I'm with it.
He may get the chance to do that one-on-one with his other septuagenarian friend, Donald Trump. We'll see. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to see you both tonight. So let's go back and take a live